Hi everyone, Leanne here from Jaded Blossom, and it is day 3 of our May 2023 release, and I have a fun card to share. Hey, so I'm using Jaded Blossom's brand new Chubby Carrot with outline die. That's the freebie with a $60 purchase. Check out the rules. And Jaded Blossom's carrot stencil. So I went ahead and I stamped these carrots in Ink on 3's blackout ink onto Neenah Solar White 80-pound cardstock, and I cut them out with my Gemini machine using the dies. Okay, so I'm going to do some ink blending with that carrot stencil using Sunny Studios Polka Dot Parade paper in the gray color. And I'm going to do that ink blending using the Wendy Vecchi Make Art Station, the carrot stencil, and some Distress Oxide ink. So I'm just checking to see if it's lined up correctly. And then I'm going to start the ink blending. So I'm going to be using Distress Oxide ink, starting with Mowed Lawn. And I'll use that to ink blend all of the little, carrot leaves. The nice thing about Distress Oxide ink is that it's a pigment and a dye ink. So the pigment will sit on top of the pattern paper. And if you use a heavy enough hand, it will be quite opaque. And, but you'll sort of be able to see that, the light polka dot in the background, which gives a nice little look. And the nice thing is you can make your own pattern paper this way. So ink blending, I did this, like I said, with a very heavy hand. The Wendy Vecchi Make Art Station, holds the stencil in place, which is handy. There we go. And then I'll have some cool pattern paper to use on this card. There we go. And, I was using a blending brush. And there it is. So kind of fun, right? Now I'm going to clean up in between using some hand sanitizer and a microfiber towel. I'm just going to wipe it clean. I don't want to get that green on my nice light gray background. Now I'm going to line up the carrot part of the stencil. And I'll be using Distress Oxide ink in Spiced Marmalade. And I'll be doing the exact same thing, heavy-handed, because I want this to be, very obvious on the background. Nice and bright carrots with barely a hint of the polka dot parade showing underneath the inked sections. So there we go. It's kind of nice using ink blending on pattern paper. It gives another element to your background. That hint of a dot just, looks really pretty. And like I said, it's really easy. A lot of these companies come out with like a light colored pattern paper. I know that Doodlebug has them. I know that Sunny Studios does. A lot of them have those just hint of a pattern in the background, and then you can easily use that to ink blend over with your stencil. So there we go. And look how cute that turned out. I just think it turned out super cute. Look with the gray dot background. Okay, and that's it there, Polka Dot Parade from Sunny Studios. Okay, so now I'm going to do some coloring with these carrots. So I'm starting with Y17, then I'm moving on to YR04, then YR07 to bring in some darker color. All my Copic markers will be listed on my blog, and this is in time lapse. Just to show you that I do color the images. I'm also starting with YG67, and then I move to 17, and then 03 around the edges for the leaves. There we go. And I just try and darken up the center of those leaves. Now I'm pulling out R22 for the cheeks, and I'm pulling out C3, 5, and 7 for the eyes. And I'm pulling out the Secure White Jelly Roll pen and a number 10 for some bold highlights. And there we go. I do color the other one off screen. So now I'm taking the diagonal card matte die, and I'm going to use this ink blended background that I made to make a background for my card. So I'm using that for my pattern paper. I'm taping it in place, and I will run that through my Gemini machine. There we go. And this is going to be the pattern paper for the background. And then I'm going to run this through again, but with New Leaf cardstock from Paper Tray Ink, because I want to have a green border to use with that little carrot pattern paper. So that's the plan. And I did run it through, and then I will take that off. So easy stuff. There we go. Working on my Neenah, or not my Neenah, my Stampin' Up pad. There we go. And now I'm applying some score tape to some Nina Solar White 80-pound cardstock. That's cut at 4 by 5¼ inches. And I'm using a 2.5-inch score tape. And then I'll use 1/2 inch score tape to sort of fill up the whole front. And that is what I'm going to stick the diagonal card mat die paper down to on the front. Just makes it easier to stick it down to make sure everything is straight and lined up. And then I can stick the entire thing down on my card front. So now I am just quickly, like I said, covering it with score tape. Now you could use ATG tape, you could use glue. I just find that this is the cleanest way. I'm using my Teflon bone folder to make sure that that's stuck down well. I'll peel off the release paper. There you have that, okay. And I'm going to line it up in the corner of my MISTI, but of course it is super sticky, so I'm kind of messing around with to get my fingers off. And then I'm going to line up that green border layer. And then I'll be able to add in the little carrot paper pieces like a puzzle. So there, I'm just lining it up. And I'll stick it down. Now, if it's not perfectly straight, I can cut around the edges, like cut off what overhangs the edges easily with a pair of scissors. And there we go. Now I'm going to fill in with this carrot paper. Now, the nice thing about this die is that you could cut it all in one color, like cut it all out, and it still adds some texture and stitching. Or you could cut it out in one color and then cut out, do it like I'm doing, use one pattern for the entire thing. Or you could cut it out a few times and mix and match your papers. So it's lots of fun. You saw that I was using a nail sanding sponge just to get the little hairy pieces of paper. You know, when you run a die cut through and it gets like little slivers of hairy paper along the edge. I like to use a nail sponge, sanding sponge to clean it up. There we go. It just takes off all those little hangers on. Now I'm going to lie on that last little piece. And I just think this is an adorable background for a card, right? Super easy. So now I have a piece of Canyon clay cardstock from Paper Tray Inc. 4.25 by 11, scored at 5.5 inches with my Teflon bone folder and the Martha Stewart scoreboard. There we go. And I'm just going to reinforce that fold. And then I'm going to put together this super cute card. So I did cut a piece of Nina Solar White 80-pound cardstock at 4 by 5¼ inches, and I'm going to stick that down to the inside of the card. Now this isn't necessary. You could easily see black pen writing on the inside of this, but I like to add a white layer. It's just kind of my thing. Now I'm adding a 1¼ inch wide strip of New Leaf cardstock from Paper Tray Inc. on the bottom of the inside of this card. There we go. I'll leave that strip of orange showing. Then I'm adding a 1-inch strip of that pattern paper I just made because I still had some left, right? So why not use it? So I'm going to add the 1-inch strip, and then I will cut off the overhang with a pair of scissors. There we go, just cutting off both sides. And now I have the card sort of complete on the inside. I will come back to that. Now I'm going to add this to the front. Now, of course, I couldn't remember if I put a double-sided tape on the other side. I did not. So I'm going to add some ATG tape to the back of this card front that I constructed. And I will stick that down on the front of this A2 size card base. It's kind of my favorite. A2 size cards are what I make the most of. And I also prefer the vertical, the vertical fold. Now I did use the wheelbarrow die to cut out these piles of dirt. And I'm planning on using them on the card front for the design. So I did cut that out of dark chocolate Paper Tray Inc. cardstock. And I'm just trying to decide how that's going to be, how the layout's going to look. And once I come up with a design, I've decided that I'm going to trim the bottoms of these piles of dirt completely flat because they are not completely flat. They sort of conform to the top of the wheelbarrow. But I want them nice and flat so they can follow the diagonal lines of this card front. So I'm just doing that, trimming off making the bottom straight. That's basically what I'm doing. There we go, just cleaning up. Now I'm going to get things organized. So I'm going to use ATG tape on the bottom of these carrots and then Stampin' Up! Dimensionals on the top, just so the bottoms are flat where they're planted into the dirt and the tops are, you know, elevated a little bit from the card. It just gives a little bit more interest than having everything all flat. And then I will peel off the release paper here in a second once I get my little dimensionals in place. So there we go, and we're going to peel off the release paper and get things going here. We'll plant these carrots, right? I just think these are so super sweet. They're adorable. I love the little girl face with the little lashes. And because these faces come separate, you could stamp these faces on anything, right? Which is lots of fun. So now I'm going to do the same thing to the other carrot. And I'm just going to pop up the leaves here with those Stampin' Up! Dimensionals like I did the other one. There we go. And I'm going to use a little one too, because I hate it if you know, when cards get all dented in the mail. I kind of like to have things all raised equally on the front of a card base. There, and I'm just peeling off all the little release papers, and there we go. So I'm going to stick this little carrot. So the idea is I'm trying to follow these diagonal lines for the planting of these carrots. So I'm going to pop up this sentiment that says, I carrot a lot about you. And I'm going to pop that up with some Stampin' Up! Dimensionals. Now, I did stamp that in VersaFine Clear Nocturne ink onto Nina Solar White 80-pound cardstock, and I did cut it out using the outline die. This little set has an outline die for the sentiment too, which is super cool. There we go, and then I will pop that entire sentiment in the upper right-hand corner of this card. So I'm using my Verse tweezers. I'm going to nestle that down a little bit. I just think it's super cute. It's got a cute font. There we go. And now I'm going to use these little dirt strips from that Wheelbarrow die. And I'm just going to stick those over the bottoms of the carrots to make them look like they're planted, right? Following the little green diagonal cardstock lines. So I'm just going to use, I did use some ATG tape and some art glitter glue on the first one. On the second one, I'm going to just use art glitter glue. There we go, using my reverse tweezers so I can hold on to it and get it straight. Well, straight following the diagonal line, right? I'm going to do the exact same thing to this other one. I will tuck it out under the front carrot. There we are. And I'm lining up those dirt piles so they stay within the confines of the green frame of the diagonal card mat die. There we go. Isn't that cute? Now I'm pulling out Jaded Blossom's Spring Banner dies. And I'm using the little carrot. I'm going to cut out the main image in the green from New Leaf cardstock from Paper Tray Ink. And then the little carrots will be cut out of Canyon clay, the same as the card base. I'm going to go ahead and cut 4 of them out, as I will use one on the inside of the card. And as well, I did cut another little dirt pile from that Wheelbarrow die from Dark Chocolate cardstock from Paper Tray Ink, and I'm going to use that on the inside of the card. So 1 carrot and 1 dirt pile, right? And as you can see, I use a bamboo skewer to pop my die cuts out. I find that it's a lot more, I don't know, it doesn't puncture the die cuts or damage the die cuts. You know, it's a lot more gentle way of getting out your die cut, you know. There we go. Now I'm just going to build up these little carrots with art glitter glue, and I do weight them down in between just to make sure they dry nice and flat. And there's that one. And then I'm going to add this last one here. There we go. So kind of fun, right? Okay, so now I'm going to use these on the card. I'm using 3 on the front as sort of an embellishment instead of Nuvo crystal drops like I like to use a lot, or sequins, or, you know, shiny shape sprinkles. Okay, so I'm going to slip this little dirt pile made of dark chocolate cardstock from Paper Tray ink behind my little border there, and then I'm going to pop on one of these little carrots, sort of like it's planted on the inside of the card. Just kind of fun, right? Makes the inside look a little bit more special, right? There we go. Now on the outside, I'm going to pop up these little carrots, you know, in a visual triangle of 3. It's kind of my thing. And I'm using the large Stampin' Up! Dimensionals and the small ones, just so they're, you know, level when they're popped up. So I'm just going to peel off the release papers, and I'm going to pop one, like I said, in a visual triangle there. There we go. And then I'll have the last one. And I think that these little carrots are super cute. A different way to use Jaded Blossom's banner dies, right? You don't have to use them in a banner. You can use them as little images. So now I'm going to be using Studio Katya's 3mm Google Eyes. They're super tiny. And I'm using their embellishment wand to pick them up, gluing them down with art glitter glue. And I was having a little bit of a problem there. Just going to pop that one up, and I'll have to redo that one. I'm just using a pen blade to kind of clean up my mess. There we go. And then, like I said, I was having issues getting glue down without making a mess today. I don't know what it was with that. I don't need a pile. I just need a little dab. There we go. And then I'm going to pick up these little Google Eyes. They are so tiny that I wouldn't, you know, they're a real pain if you use your fingers. Like, don't even try. Use an embellishment wand. It's your best friend for these sort of things. Isn't that cute? I just think that they're adorable. Now I'm pulling out my my Secure White Jelly Roll pen in a number 10, and I'm just going to add a few little highlights to these carrots, you know, just for a little bit of something, something, as I do have highlights on my big colored carrots as well. So that is also, thank you so much for stopping by. Be sure to hop on over to the Jaded Blossom blog, be inspired by the team. The Jaded Blossom store to get your hands on products. Remember, tomorrow is the actual release day, so you'll be able to buy things a la carte starting tomorrow. And that is all. Make sure you come back too, because there will be another project tomorrow and a release and review video. Thanks everyone, and see you soon. Bye.